Retail when alt season is not coming. Retail when alt season is there. Hello, everybody will join by the time that we have an alt season. But you want to prepare before that, so let's take a look at that. Stupidest intro so far. Congratulations to me. Welcome to the Fomo Factory. Let's take a look at altcoins. And therefore, let's take a look at multiple charts that could indicate to us like, hey, what's an alt season? When potentially an alt season? What do we need for an alt season, right? So welcome to the Fomo Factory. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn the bell notification on, check the Patreon for exclusive sales, and let's get into it. So what is alt season in the first place? Alt season is a period of time where altcoins, consistently outperform Bitcoin. So a lot of people, when altcoins go up, right, they say it's an alt season. That's not an alt season. That's just a period where altcoins do well, but not because altcoins do well. It's more because Bitcoin does well and altcoins just go with it. Alt season is really where altcoins outperform Bitcoin. Now, how can you measure that? There are multiple charts for it. I would recommend you want to have this info. You don't want to rely on YouTubers or people on Twitter. I love to give you the information that I know about, but you need it for yourself, okay? So get TradingView. It's free, no problem. And you can get a couple of charts. One of the most known charts, basically, for alt season is Bitcoin dominance. So you just type in btc.d and you have the Bitcoin dominance. This shows how much Bitcoin is dominating compared to the rest of the crypto space. So also compared to dollars like USDT, stables, and to certain high cap altcoins. Okay, so this is Bitcoin against everything. This could give a little of a twisted image, of course. So we'll take a look at more charts. So we have a very clear understanding of what an alt season will look like. But if you look at the Bitcoin dominance, then like we said, altcoins need to outperform Bitcoin in order to call it an alt season. So the Bitcoin dominance has to go down, right? Therefore, altcoin dominance goes up. Is this chart going down? No, right? So we have no alt season right here. The last time we have an alt season, that was 3 years ago. That was our last alt season, exactly 3 years ago, by the way. That was our last alt season. Usually you get it once every cycle, right? You get it once every cycle. You get an alt season right here in March 2017. And then you get a whole big Bitcoin season. And then in March, April 2021, we get it again. So that already could suggest, but that's just 2 measure points, right? But that could already suggest that, for the coming year, we won't really see an alt season yet. On the other hand, there's also this, what I'm pretty interested in looking at. We had the halving, right? And from the moment we had the halving until alt season started, right here, 8 months. Okay, that's where the Bitcoin dominance really started to go down. Then we had the halving here, and alt season started here, where it also started to fall. Right, also 8 months after the halving. Now we have the halving this month, right? By the time you watch the video, we had the halving. So if you want to take that 8 months into the future, then we are getting into December 2024. So based on that, my base case would be alt season Q4 this year / Q1 next year, right? And it doesn't really matter if it's going to be in November this year or February. That the wiggle room that it could have that, right? If we get an alt season next month, something like that, then something is completely changed, and then I would say, okay, we need to reevaluate by then. That's one chart. That's the Bitcoin dominance. Now you can, of course, also take a look at the altcoin dominance. And as you maybe understand, that chart looks kind of upside down compared to this one. But again, this chart includes USDT, USDC, right? If we take a look at others, this is the altcoin chart. This is the top 125, excluding the top 10. So no stables and no big caps as well. So really more altcoins. However, this comes also in a dominance version, so others.d. This is the altcoin dominance, right? If we do take a look at the altcoin dominance, what do we see? Is it an alt season? You know, it depends a little on what you define based on this chart as an alt season, right? We had an alt season here, for example. We had an alt season here, right? Do we already call this an alt season where we are now up 50% from the lows on the dominance? Well, I mean, here we went up 321%. That was a big alt season, right? If you take this complete wave right here, we were up 2000% something. That was really an alt season. This 50%, it's more like, yeah, you know, altcoins are doing well, but it's the same move from, you know, here to here. Was this an alt season? I don't know. Like here, it really went up crazy. Like it depends a little bit. In my opinion, we are not really there yet. Altcoins were doing fine and then got slapped back down again. So that's another chart that you can take a look at. If we do take a look at this, what stands out to me is that the dominance for altcoins is growing, right? The top 125, excluding the top 10, is dominating more and more and more and more, making higher highs and higher lows over the macro, right? We had a low where we started, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. We had high, higher high, higher high, higher high, higher high. So altcoins overall tend to outperform Bitcoin. But that top 125, it keeps getting refreshed with new coins. The bad coins go out, the new. So of course, the top 125 makes up for more and more market share, but not necessarily the specific coins in there are staying there. So although this chart is going up, it's very dangerous to say like, well, if altcoins overall outperform Bitcoin, you should never be in Bitcoin and just be in the top 125, because, you know, the top 125 here looked completely different than over here, right? If you invested in everything in the top 125 here, and you now look, you will be in a big loss, right? So probably if you do the same right now and you look in a couple of years, you still be in a big loss, right? So don't use that as a strategy. That won't work. What we can also take a look at is others, and we divide it by the Bitcoin market cap. So what do you get? Again, you basically get the complete index of altcoins on their Bitcoin pair, right? Why is that important, and why do we care about Bitcoin pairs and not about dollar pairs? Well, if you look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin is in basically a lifetime uptrend, right? So we know for a fact that the dollar is getting worth less and that Bitcoin is getting worth more. That's so far what it has been, and that will very likely stay that way. So if you are really in crypto for the long term, then you should not even care about altcoins on the dollar pairs, right? Because you want to stack up on as much Bitcoin as you want, because you know that Bitcoin will be worth more. And of course, in the meantime, it has its bull markets, bear markets, but overall there's growth, right? So if you want to make as much money as possible over the long term, then you should look at altcoins on their Bitcoin pair and make sure that you get as much Satoshis as possible, as possibly can. So therefore, you can better look at altcoins on their Bitcoin pair, right? If we do that again, if I can find it, here we go. Then we have this chart, right? Now, the best way in that case to make money with crypto is, sell your altcoins for Bitcoin. Wait, put your Bitcoin in altcoins. Wait, sell your altcoins for Bitcoin. Wait, put your Bitcoin in altcoins. Wait, right? That trend is intact for a very long time. Since 2016, this is a trend, right? We have this trend line over here. We found support, we found support, we found support, we find support probably again, right? Probably we just did it, right? So this is a very underestimated chart, but a very useful chart as well. If you feel like, yeah, whatever Bitcoin does in the meantime, I'm planning on holding on for Bitcoin for a very long time, then you should precisely give zero fucks about altcoins on the dollar pair, because the dollar is not relevant if you're not planning on cashing out anytime soon, right? If you feel like, yeah, but Bitcoin is here to stay and it will go to be hundreds of thousands of dollars whenever, then why do dollars even come into play? Okay, so then you want to take a look at altcoins on their Bitcoin pair. Now, at the moment, altcoins on the Bitcoin pair are sitting very low, right? They went down, of course, like they always do in every bear market, and that's painful, right? Also for the people that are in dollars, because Bitcoin already went down on its dollar pair right here, and altcoins went down against Bitcoin, which was going down. So can you imagine how altcoins got wrecked, right? So in a bear market, always, like, I'm gonna tell you this: whenever the next bear market comes, sell every altcoin there is, no matter like how great the team is, how married you are, how convinced you are. I'm not holding anything. All the altcoins will be sold. It's straight up nonsense to hold altcoins in a bear market. Okay, that's the easiest way to lose money. Okay, no exceptions. No exceptions. There might be an exception of an altcoin that does well in the bear market, but you should not take exceptions because that's a huge gamble. Okay. However, we are not in the bear market. We are in a bull market, obviously, right? And altcoins bottomed out against their Bitcoin pair in June last year, right? Now they had a pretty decent run, right? Nothing too crazy, but a pretty decent run. And they took a big hit right now because Bitcoin made a correction and the dominance went up, and altcoins basically just retested on the Bitcoin pair. Not this diagonal line only, but also this horizontal, which goes back to long ago. This was in 2017. So you cannot say that this is not a trend, right? Resistance, support, resistance, bit of support that broke, but hey, support. Right, so this is very, very, very strong. Now, what's interesting, if you ask me, and unfortunately we only have 2 measurement points, but if you look at the halving, what happened after the halving with altcoins on their Bitcoin pair? Here, completely nothing, all right? And that's not completely true, but also it is. What do I mean? Well, altcoins on their Bitcoin pair shot up like crazy, right? They doubled in a week. In a week, they doubled. But then it took from July to January to just reset, right? So it could be dangerous, right? People thought, wow, we have a week where altcoins just double on their Bitcoin pair, and slowly but steady, it takes half a year and we're back at where we were. Right? And then they started to break out. So yeah, a lot happened, and at the end of the day, we, ended where we were. This halving, what happened for altcoins on their Bitcoin pair? Well, they also not exactly doubled. Well, yeah, 105%. They doubled, right? Also, after the halving, they doubled. And then also came all the way back down. And then again, in around January of the post-halving year, they started to go up. That was an Altseason. What could happen now? It could happen again, right? It could happen that, we have the halving, and in this week, next month somewhere, altcoins have a great run against Bitcoin. Then the gains will slowly fade over the coming half year. We're back at where we were. And then beginning next year, also, they give us an Altseason. So there are already multiple indicators that there are multiple indicators that show that an Altseason is, that it's not unthinkable that an Altseason could occur end of the year, beginning next year. Right? And on multiple different measure points also. You have to go with multiple indicators. Well, these are a couple. So that's a possibility. That is a possibility. I just want to do something. Altcoins can maybe run pretty hard. I don't know how it went last cycle, but yeah. If you look what happened, we had the halving altcoins that ran up all the way to, well, around this level right here, which is the golden pocket 0.618 and the 0.5, right? They ran all the way there, and then they came down, right? If we now go to the 0.618, that's quite higher. That's a run of around 80%. 80% against a Bitcoin pair. Now that's going to be very fantastic for altcoins, and you might think like, well, what's 80%, right? That's nothing. Well, 80% here is against a Bitcoin that's worth $65,000 at the moment of recording. Here, Bitcoin in September 2020 was 10K. Okay. So that tells like, okay, if altcoins now run towards this level, it could be insane gains for altcoins, insane gains. Okay, we have just seen altcoins from their bottom go up overall with a 4.5x, some 10x, 20x, right? While this move was 67%. What if from this point we get a similar move, right? But from this point, right? Because here in June 2023, Bitcoin was 60K, right? Now it is. So this could be really enormous for altcoins if this happens. People will call it an alt season, right? Same as people called it an alt season right here. And yeah, what do you want to say? Like, are they wrong? Like, yeah, technically, I mean, altcoins were outperforming Bitcoin, so that's an alt, but it was not more. It wasn't much of a season, right? It was more of an alt wick, and then we had a Bitcoin season again after that. So if we get such a similar move, yeah, be on the lookout for people. They say, well, alt season is here. You can't ignore it from this point, and it can still the rest of the year slowly fade back down. Maybe touch this trend line over here, end of the year, and then go up and give us a real alt season. That's a possibility. That's a possibility, right? But this is all speculation and all looking at probabilities, possibilities. But I wouldn't be surprised if something like this will play out. Something like this, right? Let's see if that could happen. Save this part of the video, please, because I'm super curious. Probably not, but hey. But these are three charts that can already tell you something about alt season. Now, there's another one. I mean, if we go back to the Bitcoin dominance again, this is Bitcoin compared to everything in this crypto space. But some things are not worth investing in over Bitcoin, like USDT. Are you expecting returns on that? No. USDC, same case. But for now, for example, if we do take a look at Ethereum, right? Ethereum is going down pretty hard against Bitcoin. But Ethereum is the second largest market cap. So it takes up for a lot of market share. So if Ethereum Bitcoin goes down, the dominance for Bitcoin already goes up quite hard, right? But if you feel like, yeah, I'm not planning on investing in Ethereum anyway, then this chart is already not completely fair for your portfolio, right? The same goes for a couple of other high cap altcoins out there, like Cardano and XRP. I mean, nothing like bad against the Cardano or XRP community. But if you look at Cardano, for example, right, it's not looking so good, right? Cardano made a lower low last week, right? Last week. So if anything, for the last 3 years, it was not, well, for the last 3 years, if anything, from this point, it was not worth investing in Cardano, right? So far, everybody either lost or missed out, right? So Cardano was throwing your money away. If we look at XRP on its Bitcoin pair, same case, right? XRP just made a new low where it was in March 2021. It never went this low in 3 years. So why in the heck in the last 3 years would have you invested in XRP, right? Yeah, because you hoped it would go up, of course, but it wasn't worth it for the last 3 years, right? So if you feel like, yeah, but you know, these three, I don't care about XRP, Cardano, and Ethereum. I just want to, you know, look at slightly other things. Okay, then we take the Bitcoin dominance chart, excluding those coins. And then this is what you get. This is the Bitcoin dominance without USDT, USDC, Ethereum, Cardano, and XRP, right? Now, this dominance chart looks very different from this dominance chart, right? The normal dominance made a high last week. The dominance without these top 5 coins basically made a high in June last year, right? So there's a year difference between these charts. So this shows like, hey, maybe the actual altcoin market, to put it like that, has bottomed out on its Bitcoin pair. Maybe, right? Because we have a series of lower highs and lower lows for a year already, right? And trends are very important. Now, if we do take a look at this, you can see that where the 0.618 comes in, we broke above it for a while, but overall it offers quite some resistance, right? And for your information, the 0.618, it's a very important level. If you put it on a Bitcoin chart, for example, it is quite perfect how it works, right? 0.618 resistance, blap, we get down. It's not just once, right? We had it in this cycle as well. If you look at it like this, 0.618, resistance down. And not even that, if you take it into this cycle, so not even 2 times, but look at this. We had exactly at the 0.618, we came down. People say, yeah, because of the ETF. Exactly at the 0.618, right? Exactly at that level. Therefore, these levels work, right? That's why there people sold them. Why they sold, yeah, that's another question. But that works, right? So we can apply this here as well. And this level is a big resistance level. So that's also something to consider, in my opinion. Now, also the dominance, what it did last halving, what it basically happened, the halving happened here. Then we had a little nothing for a while, and then the dominance, what happened? Went down quite hard. That's the same, again, as the others on their Bitcoin pair going up. Right? So it makes sense with potential move that we get right here. Right? So if we see the same thing after this halving, where we, for example, do this, put in a lower low, and maybe we get such a dead cat bounce right here, right? And then down. So maybe here, that means altcoins go down against Bitcoin for a while, and then we get the real alt season. It is a possibility, right? But in order for altcoins to see a real alt season, you want this chart to go down, right? You want this chart to go down. Now, it did something which is not in favor of an alt season. If you look at this diagonal trend line, which is quite well intact, we started here, we have perfect support here, we have perfect support here, we broke below it, but we are above it again, right? So this break below, that would said to me like, would have said to me like, hey, alt season might get a start right now already. But the fact that we break above it shows a little weakness in the altcoin market right now. Now we have to see how the week ends. I don't know, but we already opened above it, right? So it doesn't really matter actually, right? We are already above it. We're also above the bull market support band, which you typically don't want to be in this case if you're hoping for an alt season. So it is showing some weakness, definitely. But this chart has to come down because altcoins are not doing so well. Bitcoin, if you take away these coins right here, is dominating the crypto space by 74%. So 74% of the complete crypto space is sitting in Bitcoin. All right. if you don't exclude those. Now, this used to be 55%, right? So that's 20% difference. Now, you might feel like, what's 20%? Thing is, 20% of what? $2.5 trillion? Put that into the altcoin market. That will go pretty crazy, right? That will go pretty crazy. Let alone if more money comes into crypto. Because what also do we need for an alt season? People to put their money into crypto. Are these people here? No, they're not here. This is the social metrics. Super important if you ask me, because this literally shows how much new people are coming in crypto. We need new people to come in crypto in order for us to get an alt season, because we are all hoping for an alt season. Doesn't work. So if our bags don't pump it, then what does it need to take? Well, new people, right? What do you notice right here in this last cycle? And repetitive, I know, but it's funny that the blue line is Bitcoin and the red line are the YouTube viewers, etc. Bitcoin price topped out here, and a month later, people were most interested, right? So the usual retail is coming in quite late. But what do you notice? We are now all the way down here. I don't even know if this candle down is a bug or not, but it went down quite hard, right? So if this is correct, then nobody gives a fuck, right? I get some less views now as well nowadays, and a lot of people do, but it will go back up, right? But what do we notice? Well, here is where people really stepped in, beginning in let's say November 2020, and that wasn't even when we made new highs. That happened in December 2020. What happened to the Bitcoin dominance at that point? That was here, this point, where the dominance stopped out, end of 2020. That was when we get an alt season, right? When we got an alt season. So if you take a look at just the altcoin chart, basically, end of 2020 was here, right? So what got the attention for people, basically? Why did this happen? Well, I think it has something to do with Bitcoin. Because if you take a look at what Bitcoin did in November, December 2020, was here. Bitcoin broke its all-time high, right here. It broke it. Now, a lot of people now say like, yeah, Bitcoin made a new high before the halving. Yeah, it went like, right? That's what it did. Yeah, that's not really getting the attention, of course, right? Yeah, short term. Like, that's funny, right? Bitcoin made a new high. People felt like, oh, let's take a look. And Bitcoin went below it again. And people were like, okay, fuck it. What are these people doing? Right? Why are you not here now? Right? So what you will probably see this in this cycle as well. Once Bitcoin really pushes above the all-time high, yeah, that's news that's going all over the world, right? Everybody wants to be there and witness it. So once this happens, then we will see all these new people coming into crypto. And that's when they put their money into all kind of speculative shit. And that's, I think, one of the big reasons for us to get an alt season. So, in my opinion, Bitcoin first need to clearly break above its previous all-time high. I mean, if you look at it like this, right? What did Bitcoin do? Bitcoin in its last cycle, it made a new all-time high in December 2020. What did altcoins do in December 2020? They were sitting here, right? They were not making new all-time highs. They were still messing around in this area right here. And although Bitcoin made a new all-time high, altcoins still had around 90% to go. How much do altcoins have to go now while Bitcoin is sitting at around its all-time high? 90%. Right? So if you, I don't know, man, altcoins, they started to make a new all-time high at the end of January 2021. That's when altcoins finally broke out. The end of January 2021 was here. Bitcoin was sitting here already, right? Bitcoin already broke its all-time high of 20K, was already sitting at 40K, and then altcoins finally started to make new highs. So if you look at it like that, then if we are going to repeat that, then you could say, like, hey, Bitcoin not first has to break its all-time high, it has to go 2x above it, right? Which is here. And then only altcoins really start to make new highs. So it could be that we first need to see 130, 140K Bitcoin. And then, only then, altcoins break out. Does it mean they cannot go up harder? And I mean, if Bitcoin goes, over 100K, then altcoins will probably do very well, right? But to make new highs, that's what it did last cycle. Again, I'm not saying that it will happen right now, but it's a possibility, right? So all speculation. Maybe I'm talking bullshit. I'm just looking at what I'm seeing on the charts right here. I'm telling that. So that's pretty interesting if you ask me. A couple of foundings right here. Let me know what you think of it. Then, yeah, there's also something called the Total 3. This is the entire crypto market, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, but also stables, high caps, etc. So I don't know. This is not that relevant to me, actually. I rather look at others. But the Total 3, it is sitting on support right here, right? And what could happen is that we maybe go a little deeper, bounce off the bull market support band, and then slowly grind up and maybe break down and then go up extremely hard. But my base case is Altseason, end of the year / beginning next year, combined with the fact that Bitcoin clearly has to break all-time highs, and it did not clearly break all-time highs yet, right? You can say whatever you want, but if you look what Bitcoin did, then it went with around 6% above it. That's not a clear break to me. That's not, and it was on a wick base as well. So end of the year, beginning next year. Plus when Bitcoin breaks out. Now, could it be that Bitcoin breaks out at the end of the year? I mean, so far, it's a little more to the left, but it could also be that Bitcoin was rushing a little bit too much and that it's now going to slow down and then just repeat what it usually does. Right? That's also a possibility. And that a lot of people now think like, oh, we're going to top out soon. And that actually this time is also just not different. And that all these people are going to get wrecked, right? That's a possibility. Here we got the halving, and it took like around 34 weeks for Bitcoin to really break out, right? If we take this halving and we take 34 weeks, where does it take us? End of the year. It lines up with what we said, end of the year, beginning next year. So that's my base case. And until then, I think it's just wise to DCA. This is the last year, in my opinion, that we are definitely not early anymore. But you're also not too late. I think you're really too late whenever you see that this line is already sitting here, right? That's where everybody comes in. That's too late. Here you should already sell. When this thing is high, sell. Right? When your grandmother is in crypto, dump on that bitch. It's like, what? Sorry for that. But when the new retail is in, you should dump on them. That's what you should do, really. Otherwise, you are not going to make it. And you're just going to be one of these people that's actually too late. And that's going to be dumped on. Yeah, you decide. Dump or be the dumper. Get dumped on or be the dumper. Dumper. I don't know. Where was I? I don't know. I'm tired. I think I'm going to leave it here. So let's see what's going to happen. But this could actually be a possibility. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So this year, you are not too late. You are definitely not early as well. But it's a good time to still DCA into crypto. And from end of the year, beginning next year, I would say start thinking about selling. I will talk about selling way too early. I don't care, better that than way too late. Right? That's so. Let's talk about selling by then. And in the meantime, let's be on the lookout for Altseason, what's possibly going to change about it, and the best altcoins to buy, of course. So thanks for watching. Like the content, subscribe to the channel. See you tomorrow.